Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa, and today is Thursday. No, Wednesday? It's Wednesday, the 26th of March. Hey, thank you so much for coming by. If you're new here, I hope you find something that you enjoy on the video. If you've been coming for a while, thanks for coming back. It has been a little over a month since I recorded last, and a lot's been going on. So we're going to catch up. I do just want to let you know, you'll find show notes in the drop-down menu below the video here on YouTube. Just click where it says more underneath there and it will open up show notes with links to my project pages on both Ravelry and my project blog, which is called My Favorite Day. And there's also timestamps, so you can jump through the video if you don't want to watch absolutely everything. All of my links to where you can find me online, including our Ravelry group for the podcast, as well as my blog on my website, which is Fiber Nymph Dye Works, which is also where you will find my fiber and my yarn that I dye. All those links are in that in the show notes, so you can find those there. And I don't usually ask this, but I'm going to say, if you watch my podcast, or if you're watching it today for the first time and you like it, if you could subscribe, if you're not already subscribed, that would be awesome. You know, the algorithm is a thing that nobody understands, but I do know that asking people to subscribe and then having them subscribe is supposed to help the algorithm bring other like-minded people to this content, or the content to them, one or the other. I'm not entirely sure how that works. If you subscribe though, then my videos will just automatically show up in your feed. You won't have to seek me out. Other things that are super helpful is if you like the video, click like. And if you want to interact through leaving a comment, that's always appreciated as well. I love reading your comments. If I talk about something today that you can't find the answer to, that you have a question about, in the show notes, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer your question as best I can. Okay, that's all of the administrative stuff, the general administrati. Let's go into announcements here. I didn't get a chance to record a video while I was away. If you don't know, I was away for a week and a half with my mom, who lives in Florida. She was having surgery and she had her surgery. It went great. She's doing fantastic. She is back to having no restrictions on her activity, so she's doing really good. So that was great. I was glad I could be there for that. On my way home from that trip, I did spend 2 days in Charlotte, where I got to spend some time with my grandson, who's going to school down there. But it wasn't the kind of trip where I could really had time to record an episode. So that's why it's coming out kind of late. Also, immediately upon coming home from my trip, I had a massive head cold for an entire week, and all I did was sneeze and blow my nose. Nobody needed to see that. So you are welcome. I did get to record a members video while I was on the road. It was actually, I called it Notes from the Road, and I recorded it in my hotel room in Charlotte. So some of what I'm going to show you today as far as projects, I did already show on the members video, but there's more to see. So anyway, oh, that is something I didn't point out. I do have a membership option here on the channel. So if you are interested in some extra content every month, feel free to check out that membership. You can also find that information somewhere below the video. I think where it says join. If you click that, that tells you everything you need to know. Okay, so what else is going on? I'm back from my trip. I'm over my head cold for the most part. I'm drinking tea out of this incredibly cute mushroom mug that I got while I was away on my trip. I will talk a little bit more about that later. This is that mint ginger tea from the Republic of Tea that I've talked about before that I still love a lot. A little bit of honey in it. Okay, while I was away, I did work. It was kind of a working trip. I literally took almost my entire shop with me in my car down to Florida, because I knew I was going to have to do a bunch of shipping, because the Imagined Landscapes April Mystery Gnome Knit Along is starting on April 2nd, but I was one of the participating dyers who dyed up kits for that. So there are yarn, not really kits because the pattern is not included. You have to buy the pattern separately from Sarah. But the yarn sets, I sold out of all of the ones. I had 40 in stock ready to go, and those sold out like within the first day. And then I had pre-orders up that I said would ship out by this past Monday, and any ones that were pre-ordered did ship out already. I do still have some extras now in the shop. So if you want to take part in that make along, I didn't bring any out with me. Maybe I'll try to put a picture in here if I can remember to do that. If you are in the United States and you want to order one, I'll ship it out as like within a day, a business day of you ordering it. So hopefully you could still get it by the 2nd if you are in the United States. International shipping, that will never happen in time. But they are available until they sell out. Then they will no longer be available. But that's going on. I am currently working on getting all of the Pi Day pre-orders and dye-to-order orders finished and out. That is taking me a little bit longer than I anticipated. Just again, I was sick all of last week and had very low energy. So that slowed me down a bit, but they are starting to ship out, and I will have the rest of them out within that 5-week period that I said that it would take. The pre-orders for Kawaii Pie are still up in the shop, as are the listings for the dye-to-order pie colorways that I did add recently. So you can find all that in the shop. And I am going to be adding a new item to the shop, probably Friday. I'm going to say Friday. Be subscribed to my newsletter. I always say that, and you will know for sure. You can do that from any page on my website. But this is something that people have asked me for years. I've had requests for this item, and I've always put off doing it because I wasn't 100% sure how I wanted to make it happen. And I finally decided on my approach. So you guys know I have my inversible sets, right? They're fun. 250-gram skeins with opposite striping patterns, 2 colors, right? They're 2 colors. I've had requests for inversibles with more than 2 stripes, more than 2 colors. And so that's what I did. I am starting out small. I have 5 color combinations that are going to be going up into the shop. And they are 4 stripe colorways. So I have samples knit up of 2 of them, and because they're all semi-solid colorways, I will be able to put up little graphic representations of what they'll look like. So I'm not going to knit samples of each of them. I do not have names for the colorways yet. That's one of the hard parts, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So here's one of the sets. So this is a black, gray, plain vanilla, the white, and red colorway, my deep red. So you can see how they work. They basically work the same way as inversibles, where you have the wide stripe, narrow stripe, and then the other one, it's the wide stripe, narrow stripe. The colors are just flipped, but in this case, you have 2 sets of colors going. So that's how those are working out. So that's the first one that I have a sample knit up of, and then this one is a brighter combination. I love this one, it's so much fun. So there you go. I'm really excited about these. I'm happy with how they turned out. I don't know what the interest is going to be in them. That's why I'm starting small. 5 color combinations. So this was the first one that I just showed you. This is what it looks like in the skeins. And then let's see, this is how this one looks in the skeins. So again, it's still the 250-gram skein. So you're just getting a full skein of yarn between the 250 grams. All right, so here's the other 3. This one, I still have to do the little graphics to show you how they'll stripe, but you can see the colors. And this one, I did find it takes a lot more planning to do a 4-stripe inversible than the 2 stripes, because 2 stripes you just have 2 colors that have to play well together. In this way you have to have 4 colors that are going to play together. This is the last one. 4 colors that are going to play together, and they have to play together in 2 different configurations. So that's part of the reason why it's taken me so long to actually come up with these. So that's the 5 color combinations that I'm going to have in the shop on Friday. I am putting them up as dyed orders. Why? Because again, I don't know where the interest level is going to be, and I don't want to over dye. So this way, if I put them up as dyed orders, here's 2 benefits. Number 1, you can get whichever one you want, and it doesn't matter how many people order them, because I can dye them as the need or as the desire comes in orders. That's really a weird way to say that, Lisa. But number 2, you also have the option if you want to get a coordinating mini skein. I always do that discounted mini skein for dyed orders. So you'll have that option with your inversibles. A lot of people like to use a semi-solid mini for like heels and toes on inversible socks or whatever you're making with them. It doesn't have to be socks. You can use it for so many things. So anyway, those will be coming to the shop probably Friday. Again, be on the newsletter list and you will know for sure. I am going to limit the first dyed order round of these just to the bounce base. Just to start out, again, this is kind of a test run on these. So we're going to do bounce and dyed order for those 5 colorways, and I would have to come up with names for them. That's the harder part, because usually when I dye colorways, they are inspired by something specific, and these were not really. These were more me putting colors together that I wanted to play well, that would play well together. So they are not specifically inspired by something. So I'm going to have to go back to my roots, because that's where I started. When I first started dyeing, I was just dyeing things that I liked the colors that went together, and then I'd come up with names for them. I haven't done that in a long time. So we'll see where I go with that. I'd like it to have some sort of theme, but it may not. We'll see. Anyway, those are coming really soon, probably Friday. Stay tuned. Alrighty, what else? I am wearing my sweater, my Coffee Bean Cardigan. It has buttons now. Here you go. I know I showed it last time. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see it. If I can move the chair out of the way. So there you go. It has 4 buttons, and I have done no other modifications to it. I talked last time about things that I thought I might want to change. I'm still not thrilled with the length, but the length is a hard one. I have not done the extra blocking to the bottom to try to get it to widen at the bottom to kind of do an A-line sort of thing. I haven't done that yet, nor have I shortened the sleeves. The sleeves would be easy to shorten, but for right now, I'm just going to wear them rolled up and just leave it like that. Overall, I really love this sweater. This was the Corran Cardigan by Creabea Knits, Creabea Designs. I substituted this coffee bean stitch. There you go. You can kind of see it. Instead of the eyelet stitch that she had in the pattern. And this is knit out of Plymouth tweed in color something. I don't have the color written down. Yeah, so it's done. I'm going to just wear it as it is for now and see how I like it, because I think it's probably going to be okay. The biggest thing I would love to be able to change is the length, but because of it's made from the bottom up and because of the stitch pattern that I've got in here, you know, it's just, it would be a really hard thing to modify. Some people did say they thought maybe I could turn it up and do like a rolled hem. It would be really bulky if I did that. And the fact that I have this garter stitch band at the bottom, which is really what's causing a lot of the problems for how it's doing the little swoopy thing out at the bottom. I don't think it would do that super well. It would be misshapen. So I'm going to just wear it as it is for right now and reserve the option to make changes later on if I find them necessary. So that's where we're at on that. All right, that takes us into crafting. So let's talk what I've gotten done. Since it's been a month, you would think there would be a lot. We'll see. So last time we were together, I did show you my February, that's really blowing out in this light. This was my February charity hat, which is one of my goals this year, to knit a charity hat, at least a minimum of one charity item per month. So this was February's, and I did it. This is my own pattern. I am in the process of writing it up with a broken rib stitch. And I liked it so much because I knew I wanted to write it up. I did it again for March, and I did it in green for March because March, St. Patrick's Day, spring, green seemed like a great idea. So I started this right before I went to Florida, and I finished this while I was at the hospital the day my mom was having her surgery. So this was a hospital finish, and I really enjoy it. I'm not going to put it on today because my hair is kind of tenuous as it is, but you know, it's fine. It's very stretchy. It's very squishy. I love the fabric that I'm getting from this. So this was, again, just a lot of leftovers in different greens. I did have an area where I went into some green that absolutely did not go with what else was going on here, and I actually did tink back or ripped back, I don't remember. These both were made, all of them, like when the pattern's written, it's also going to be made this way, with 2 strands of fingering weight held double, and I'm using US 5s for the ribbing and US 6s for the body of the hat. Obviously you could do the same thing, probably just using a DK weight yarn, but I really like the textural element that you get from holding 2 fingering weights together and the marling that you get in both of them. I just think it's fun. So that was my March charity hat, and then I decided to do a purposeful hat in the same pattern as I was writing it up. And for that one, I used a semi-solid, which this is my Mountain Tweed fingering weight base, and I used plain vanilla, which is the undyed version, and then I used a self-striping, which I love how this turned out. And this is my Cuddletime colorway, which that was a club colorway for the Tea for Two club. Cuddletime is the name of a tea that I used as inspiration for that. I think it's from Plum Deluxe Teas. Anyway, so it's a really nice subtle coloration, and I love how that plain vanilla just softens all those already soft stripes, and it also has a plain vanilla stripe in it, so it just worked out really, really well. Again, just so squishy. I have not blocked these hats, and I don't think I'm going to, and I don't think I'm going to recommend blocking them, only because I think that's going to compromise that real squish factor. Like, it's a stretchy hat, you know, it's basically a modified rib, and so it's stretchy. It doesn't really need blocked. So anyway, I'm really, really happy with this one. As I said, I'm in the process of writing the pattern up. It's written up. I need to do sizing because I want to offer it in a few different sizes. And then I need to get it tech edited. And then I will need sample knitters, or test knitters, not sample knitters. I don't need sample knitters. I need test knitters. So if anybody would be interested in test knitting this pattern once I get it tech edited, please let me know. You can email me, lisa@fibernymphdyworks.com, and let me know that you would be interested. Again, it takes 2 fingering weight yarns, and I don't remember which size needle I used now. 5s. I used 5s and 6s, so you'd need a US 5, US 6 needle for that. Okay, and this uses for this size, it uses about 30 grams of each yarn. 30 to 35, I would say, to be safe. So, okay, that is my hat. Those are my hats. Finished object hats. Another project that I finished, and I actually finished this before I went away, is one that you did see in progress, and this is my Richland shawl, highly modified Richland shawl. The pattern Richland is by Dee O'Keefe, And this yarn was yarn I was gifted by a lovely friend. It's beautiful silver gray alpaca. And I knit this by doing the lace panel only in the pattern, and I did 2 of them. And then I seamed them together here in the middle. It worked out great. It seamed together beautifully. I think the motif comes together really well in the middle. It still needs to be blocked. I didn't have time to block it before I went away, and then I just have not actually thought to block it since I've been home. It did turn out much longer than I actually thought it was going to be, and once it's blocked, I think it'll be even longer still. So it's definitely long enough to kind of wrap around this way. And how am I going to do that? Tuck in. Definitely would keep you warm, like inside a coat, the opening of a coat. Or, let's see, let me do it a different way. Just wearing it like this, crossed over, I think would be lovely. Here's how long it is. So comes down to there. Could wear it with a shawl cuff, shawl pin, or I'm sure I could just flip them back there and do that too. So many options, such a beautiful pattern. I love how my modification worked out. I love the yarn. It is just gorgeous. And I'm really, really happy with this finished object. I haven't knit something that was super lacy in a long time. I mean, this is kind of a lace, but it's not big chart lace, and that's what this was. The chart was very memorizable though. It got to the point where I didn't have to look at the chart at all to do it, which was great. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you would like. It's supposed to be a triangular shawl. I just only did the fun part. Another project though that I did take with me, I took yarn. Actually, I took so much yarn and so many things that I could have worked on to my mom's, and I pretty much worked on none of them other than that green hat and what I'm going to show you now. Yeah, it just wasn't that kind of a trip. But anyway, my stuff's well traveled now. I did crochet this. I started this while I was away and I finished it after I got back home. This is another one of those fair weather cowls, which is a pattern by Fiberflex, who is Jennifer Dickerson. I love this pattern. It is just, it's a fun, relaxing, meditative crochet project. Yeah, I just enjoy it so much. This is, I don't know how many of these I've made now. It's actually really kind of funny because if you look it up on Ravelry, there's not a ton of projects for it, for the pattern. Most of them, however, are mine. Anyway, so there it is. This one fits really well. I had about 85-ish grams of this yarn left. This is my Traveler sport weight base, and I had knit a sample of this colorway. This is my original Pi Day colorway. So whenever I was putting those listings up for March, I needed a sample of this because this predates when I used to hand knit samples. So I knit a Traveler weight or sport weight sample, and so I used the rest of it for this. And I really like how the Pi colorway crocheted up in this pattern, just because look, I mean, you can tell there's a 1 a 1 spot in there. There's probably another one right there. Maybe that's a 2. It's hard to tell, but anyway, that's probably a 2. Anyway, I had fun doing this. So that is another one. I'll probably hang on to this and use this as a show sample as opposed to a charity donation, at least for the time being. Okay, so that was, I think, the original, the only other finished object or project that I have, knitting or crochet wise. Like I said, I took a ton of stuff with me, barely touched any of it. I did, however, cross stitch while I was at my mom's. We both sat and cross stitched a few different days. I joked with her because I hadn't touched this cross stitch since she was here for Christmas. We were both cross stitching then too. My needle keeper is adhering itself to the metal board. Oh, What happened? Okay, maybe I've lost it now. I don't know what's going on. It's okay. Everything's in the bag. But anyway, here is my progress. I don't know if you'll remember where I was. I had finished this stuff back in December. Then I had just started like the top part of the moth, and that was where I stopped. And so all the rest of the moth that you see done, I did while I was at my mom's. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's pretty in depth. Like the colors are, I don't know. I've made a couple of errors, but none too major. I don't think you'll be able to tell in the end. But I really am enjoying it, and I hope I get it done in my lifetime. I laughed with my mom. I said, you know what? If we only work on these projects when we're together, we're never going to get them finished, because the one she's working on is the one that she started when she was here as well. Although hers is a cardinal, and she's still cursing about all the different reds, and she's like, I don't think this is going to look like a cardinal. I'm like, it'll be fine. So anyway, yeah, I worked on that down there, and that was the extent of my crafting while I was away. Did I mention that Bill's away? I don't remember if I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast or not. Yeah, my husband he left yesterday. He's away for a 2 to 3 week long trip. We don't know how long, it kind of is fluid, but he's on a motorcycle trip. He's heading out west to visit his sister, and then he will be making his way home via a new route. He makes this trip, I would say, about once every year and a half, and he never goes the same way twice. He tries to hit different things, and I know he's got some national parks kind of stuff that he wants to see this time while we still have national parks. Anyway, so yeah, he is away, and while he's away, I have a mental list 1.5 miles long of all the things that I would like to work on and accomplish, both crafty stuff as well as house stuff and other things, and things that I actually, at work also, but things that I also need to do, like our taxes. I have to take them to the accountant tomorrow, so I have to finish those up tonight, prepping those. But anyway, I am hoping to finish spinning that pumpkin BFL. I would love to get that project just done. It's been on the wheel a long time. I have 3 bobbins sitting here on the wheel right now waiting to be plied. I need 1 more because I'm doing 2-ply. So yeah, I will work on that. And I would love to also warp my big loom. I have a project in mind that I might try with that. So we'll see if I get that done. Honestly though, a lot of my free time and crafting time, both while I was away and since I've been home, has been spent doing watercoloring, and also I've added in alcohol marker doodling. It's been a rabbit hole. Yeah, I talk about the algorithm, like the YouTube algorithm. You watch one video on watercoloring or on doodling, and man, it sends you all the videos. And so since I was driving on this trip down and back, I had a lot of time where I could listen to things. You can't really watch a video while you're driving, or at least you shouldn't. But I did listen to a lot of videos about watercolor and about different art things. And that was really actually pretty interesting, because I learned a lot of technical stuff that I did not know. And then when I was able to, when I wasn't driving, I was watching these videos. A lot of artists do kind of like paint with me or draw with me kind of videos, which are fun because then you can kind of practice what they're doing. And even though they're really good at it, you can be bad at it, but you're learning. And I'm enjoying that process of being bad at it. I didn't really bring out, do I have anything sitting here? Hang on a sec. I've got, okay, here. So this one is an example of alcohol marker art, doodling. This was inspired by a video by Doodling with Rachel. I will link her down below. Hers did not look exactly like this. I went my own way with it, but the initial idea I got from her. And that's what's really fun. Like you can take these ideas, you can see something somebody else did, and then you can put your own spin on it. And that is what I'm really enjoying. So this is all alcohol markers, except for the white, like the white flowery things and these lines and dots. Those are gel pens. So yeah, did that. And then another artist, a watercolor artist that I've been watching a bunch of videos, and she's got some really, really nice paint with me kind of videos where she shows you, you know, she's painting something and she's showing you how she does it and talking you through it. Her name is Diane Antone, I think. Antone. I will link her below as well. But she does some really fun, like whimsical animal paintings, and she did one with cats. And I didn't do mine while I was watching her or listening to her. I may have actually been driving while that one was on. No, I wasn't, because I actually did get to see it. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't work on this at that time, but I used her technique as inspiration when I did this one. Isn't it funny? He's not meant to be realistic. He's just meant to be a cute, whimsical little cat with a bird on its head. This one's watercolor and fine liner, like black fine liner marker. I would do a lot of things differently the next time I do one of these. That's the other thing I keep hearing multiple people say, multiple artists say, like, you know, if you like a design, don't just do it once. Do it many times, because then you'll get better each time you do it and you'll learn more about it. And the other thing, an artist, and I can't remember her name, shoot, I will look it up and link, because I love her videos as well. And a lot of these people I think are art teachers as well. Sorry about that. I had to make an abrupt pause in the video there to deal with a phone call, and I had to look up some information for somebody. And in the meantime, the light has changed and it's gotten very warm, hence I've taken my sweater off. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying before I had to cut out there. I was trying to remember the name of another watercolor artist that I've been watching a lot of her videos, and I did have a chance to look that up. It's Leslie Van Leuven. I think her first name's Leslie. Gosh, the short-term memory. Anyway, I will, again, link her below. But one of the things that she said in the very first video that I watched of hers that struck me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my people. She said, you know, remember, you are worth the good watercolor paper. Because just like in knitting, like you get a much better result when you're using good yarn, you know, better quality yarn, not good yarn. It doesn't have to be expensive to be of good quality, but like the better quality yarn. And I always tell new knitters that, you know, if I'm teaching someone to knit, I'm like, don't be afraid to use better yarn. Like if you're just using really, really cheap acrylic, you may have problems. It's not going to give you the same look that maybe you want to get that you would get out of some wool yarn or a wool blend. And so, you know, I try to really encourage people that it's okay to play with your good stuff when you're first learning. Same way with spinning, like spin with the good fiber. You'll have a much better outcome. And so when she said that, you know, talking to viewers who are newer at painting, she's like, you are worth the good watercolor paper because you're going to get a much better result and it will help you learn better and you won't get as frustrated. So I just thought that was so cool. And yeah, that struck me. So anyway, I don't know that I have really, really good watercolor. I have watercolor paper, and this is actually on watercolor paper. I have been painting on this paper too. This is just like mixed media paper. It does not work as well, for sure. I did just order a pad or packet of what is apparently a better watercolor paper, Arch. I've heard it pronounced different ways. It comes in big sheets though, and I'm going to be cutting them down into small pieces because it was a little pricey for paper. But again, I want to have that experience and see what it's like to do it on better paper. Anyway, okay, so that is what has been taking up a lot of my time. And I'm really torn because I would love to share more of this artsy stuff with you as I'm learning it. Maybe not like what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just copying what other people are telling me and trying to learn from that. But I'd like to share like the things that I'm doing and my thoughts about it. But I know this channel doesn't feel like the right venue for that, because this is not an art channel in that way. It's a fiber arts channel, and I am a fiber artist, but I am not a painting, drawing artist per se. I am for fun for myself, but it's also fun to share things, especially as you're learning them, I think. And sometimes that helps you learn better if you share with other people what you're doing and talk about it. So I don't know, maybe I'll just do a couple special episodes here and there and share with you what I'm doing in other parts of my crafty world. I don't want to just inundate my members' videos with that kind of crafty stuff, because that's not fair to them either. But I do tend to share the extra kind of stuff with members a little bit more than I do on this channel. So anyway, we'll see what I decide to do with regard to that. But anyway, I'm having fun with it, and that's what's important. Let's see. Choose your own adventure make along. We've got that going on in the group. And this year I'm doing prizes on a quarterly basis. So the first quarter is almost over. It'll end at the end of March. And so that means the first regular video that I put out in April, I will announce the first quarter prize winners. If you'd like to join in, you're welcome to join in anytime. It's a very low-key make-along. You kind of make up your own list of things that you want to do. You're choosing your own adventure. I will link where you can find information about the make-along in the show notes below. I did do an introduction video. I've mentioned that several times now at the beginning of the year. So if I remember, I will link it up here wherever it goes. But if I don't, you can find it on the channel as well. I have not been reflecting on my own list. I did make a list of what I wanted to do this year back in January. At the end of January, I did look at it, and I was going to kind of revamp it, see where it needed to be tweaked. And I did look at it, but I don't think I ever actually made changes to it. And I definitely did not look at it at the beginning of March, just because there was so much going on. But I can tell you off the top of my head, because there's only 7 items, and I kept them pretty general. The ones that I definitely have worked on is work with stash, both yarn and fiber. I have definitely been doing that, working with a lot of stash. That always makes me happy, especially when I'm using leftovers and scraps. Love it. Make a minimum of 1 charity item per month. I've definitely been doing that. Focus on choosing projects with a useful purpose rather than just making things to make them. I would say, yes, I have done that. This scarfy shawl thing that I made, it's not like, did I need a scarf? No. Did I want to make this because I was knitting along with a friend who had given me the yarn? Yes. So that made it a perfect project for that. And I think that is a absolutely wonderful purpose for making things. So yay, I'm doing that. Crafting that I wanted to prioritize this year, cross-stitching, spinning, and weaving I had on there. I am trying to do the cross-stitching. I was spinning a good bit earlier this year. Haven't done so much in the last month. I have not really done much in the way of weaving. I have to amp that up. And I definitely need to add painting and drawing to the list, because I'm having a good time with that. A non-fiber, okay, we're gonna have a little tickle in the throat now. Maybe, oh my gosh, maybe that'll help. Okay, one of the things that is non-crafty relating but was cooking related was trying 1 new recipe a week. I had that goal last year as well, and I did not keep up with it. I have not kept up with it this year either, but I am still trying new recipes, and I have a focus on doing gluten-free recipes, since I'm now eating as gluten-free as much as possible because of the non-celiac gluten sensitivity that I was diagnosed with last year. And I did make a really good recipe last night. This is one of the fun things I do if Bill is away, is I will find recipes that I can just make for me that I know he probably wouldn't be interested in even if he was here. Or I mean, I would probably just end up making two different versions of it. But for me, I made chicken my fun, MEIFUN. I think it's also spelled MAI. But anyway, it's become my default dish that I order when we get Chinese because it's a noodle dish, but it's made with rice noodles, not wheat noodles like lo mein or something. And it's really, really good. And I thought, you know what, this cannot be difficult to make. And so I did find a recipe for it and finally tried it last night. And it was really, really good. You basically can throw in whatever vegetables you want, like what you have in the fridge. The only thing I would do differently the next time I make it, and actually when I eat the leftovers because I have enough for another meal, is I need to add more sauce to it. It was a little, it wasn't dry, but it definitely wasn't as saucy as it could have been. And the reason, that's my fault, not the recipes, because the plant-based chicken that I used for mine last night was already pre-flavored. It was a Cajun kind of flavor. And I thought, I've eaten that one before. I knew it wasn't super like over the top. It was just a really spicy kind of chicken. And I thought, well, that's good. Because a lot of times I'll put sriracha sauce in my, like my ramen and stuff like that I make, which I also make with rice noodles when I make it. Anyway, so I did not mix the like soy sauce based sauce to put in the chicken to marinate it ahead of time. And I think that cut down on the moisture in the recipe. So when I eat the leftovers, I am going to mix up a little bit of sauce that I can just mix in the whole thing and give it a little bit more moisture. And then the next time I make this dish, I will probably use just a plain, like non-Cajun plant-based chicken. And for those of you who are interested, I use Daring Chicken is the brand name. It is a gluten-free plant-based chicken. That has been a real challenge for me to find gluten-free plant-based meat products. I know, plant-based meat, it sounds like an oxymoron to a lot of people, but you know, it's hard to find because a lot of vegetarian and vegan meat products or faux meat products, whatever you want to call them, are made with Vita wheat gluten. And so that really does not help those of us who also need to eat gluten-free. So anyway, I will put a link to that recipe below in the show notes as well. I think that is no, there was one more. It was design work, and I am working on that hat design, so I feel like I'm doing that. So the only thing I really haven't done a whole lot of in the last couple of months is work with hand spun. I'll get back to it though. That's just one. I have a whole year. All right, so that is everything in the main section of the podcast. I will just talk a little bit more about some life stuff. I feel like I've already touched on, you know, a bunch of things. I told you about my trip, went to Florida. My mom's doing great after her surgery. Got to see my grandson. On my way down, I stopped in Jacksonville, North Carolina, actually, and visited with my oldest son's, the woman who he had been engaged to. So it was wonderful getting to see her. And then the next morning before I left to drive the rest of the way to Florida, I did go by the cemetery, so I got to hang out with my son. Anyway, so that was that. I did take one morning and went to the beach for sunrise. It was not beach weather. It was so chilly down there while I was there. A little bit of rain, but it was just chilly. But the day that I went to the beach, it was a really nice morning. The members video that I recorded, I did put a whole bunch of beach footage in. I will maybe put like just the sunrise video at the very end of the podcast if you want to see that. It's just so much fun. So I did that, and then I also had a chance because I was working down there and I had to run out to the post office and ship like a ton of those mystery knit-along gnome sets. I went, after I dropped that stuff off at the post office, I went down to downtown Fernandina on Center Street, which is basically kind of like the touristy shoppy area, you know. And there's some shops down there I always like to hit and see what they've got. And there's a new shop, which is actually where I got this mug, a new shop full of really cute things that were totally up my alley, and I had to just rein myself in, but I got my mug. And I did some gift shopping, which is always fun to buy things that I can have on hand for future gift giving. But I bought this guy for myself. Is he not adorable? It's a picture, a snail picture. I will probably never use it as a picture. I will probably use it maybe as a vase in the summer, have some flowers growing out of him, but the eyes, I just can't with the eyes. So cute. Anyway. So did that. Anyway, it was a really good trip all around. Like I said, got home, immediately had a head cold. I was actually starting to get that when I got into Charlotte, and it just didn't get any better. So I still have a little bit of, that's why I think my throat's getting scratchy, because I haven't been talking that much. Bill's not home. I don't have anybody to talk to except the cats. They don't really care. So anyway, the week I got home, we also had a crazy storm up here. We actually had some trees come down here on our property. Nothing that hurt anything. One fell like up on our storm fence. Didn't really hurt it a whole lot, but we did have to go cut it down because it was kind of hanging over the road a little bit. But just like a quarter of a mile down the road from us, tons of pine trees, huge pine trees down, like down, there's this one road that kind of down by my little lake that I go to where I kayak sometimes. It's like a little valley. And I think that storm, it wasn't a tornado, even though there was a tornado warning. Maybe it was a microburst or something, but I haven't seen reports that we actually had a tornado, but it was a strong wind system that just took down huge trees, even at the park by the lake. I mean, just giant trees. There were some houses with roof damage, a lot of tarps on roofs right now. There's one farmhouse kind of down the road the other way that, like past the park, giant trees fell on part of their house. Not the main part of the house, but still, yikes. So hoping to not have a repeat of that while Bill is away, or ever, but especially while he's away, because I don't want to have to go out there and deal with it. I don't do chainsaws well. Anyway, so that happened. As I said, Bill left yesterday for his trip. He'll be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. I've got lots of stuff I want to do, and my painting and alcohol markering is my happy place right now. Got to finish my taxes today so I can turn them in on my way to go to my dentist appointment tomorrow. So there you have it. That's what I've been going through. That's what's going on here. I've been going through. I'm not going through anything. That's what's going on here. What's going on with you? I hope things are really good with you guys. I'd love to hear what you've been up to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on like artistic things that outside of fiber arts. I mean, I know our common thing here is fiber art stuff, knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, whatever. I think that's the majority of people who watch my videos. That's why you're here, for those kinds of things. But like, are there other artistic endeavors? I mean, cross stitch is kind of, I feel like cross stitch and sewing, those are like fiber crafts also, but not as directly as what I do with yarn. You know what I mean? So those aren't totally out of the realm. But like, if you do other stuff, like, do you paint? Do you jewelry make? Do you do wood carving? Do you have any other crafty things that you also enjoy doing aside from your fiber arts? And also, have you had a period of time where you've really been drawn to something else that's taken you away from your fiber crafting, because you've been so focused on something else that's bringing you joy? I'm curious about that, because I know it happens to a lot of us, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. In fact, I feel like creativity in any form helps spur on more creativity. I know I always found that to be the case back in my former life when I was a writer. I did freelance writing for online magazines, and sometimes I would do other writing that wasn't necessarily for pay, but it was writing that was creatively fulfilling for me, and it helped me be a better writer in general. So it's sort of that kind of thing. Like, I think all forms of creativity really help us to be more creative in general. And sometimes we just have to, you know, veer off on a different little creative path to find something else that's going to spark our joy and attention for a while. And it might somehow bring us back to what we've been doing and give us a new outlook on that as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyway, until next time, have a wonderful rest of your week. Stay warm or dry or cool, depending on what weather you're having. We're having a little bit of everything. It's cold today. We've got a fire in the fireplace. It's going to be in the 70s on Saturday. It's a crazy time of year. Anyway, I'll talk to you again soon. Again, watch the newsletter because I will be having the pre-orders for the expanded Inversibles in the shop, hopefully Friday. And that's it. Talk to you again soon. Bye, guys.